Let's talk about important things, life and death. We're all watching this horrific footage that's coming out of Ukraine. Three big developments over the last couple of days. One, of course, is Joe Biden and his off-the-cuff remarks in a speech in Poland, where he ended with the words saying that Vladimir Putin cannot remain in power. This is interpreted as, a bid for regime change in Russia. That has already been rode back on by him, by his Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. What did you make, first of all, of those comments? And does that make life harder for people of Ukraine, or was it the right thing for him to say?
So Biden started his speech in Warsaw for quoting the Bible, "Don't be afraid." And as Soviet Union collapsed 30 years ago, something will happen with Putin regime. So we have to talk about de-Stalinization after Stalin, because there are still cult of Stalin in Russia, and also deputinization of Russian Federation and Russian society. So the process started because when Putin started the war against Ukraine 9 years ago, he actually started the end of his regime, because within 9 years, we proved that Ukraine will never be back in Russian sphere of influence. And within more than 30 days of full-scale escalation, so we are demonstrating the fighting spirit, and actually there is no option for the world just to finally accept that we have to be prepared for the world after Putin and Putinism. And successful Ukraine is a solution for fight against authoritarianism.
Yeah. So although of course, Ukraine being successful, as a democracy and as an economy before this invasion was weirdly one of the pretexts that Vladimir Putin would have used. So, this is the thing. Zelensky has done an interview with Russian journalists, which interestingly has been censored in Russia, and the journalists have been facing a lot of criticism within, the Russian state-controlled media. And in that interview, he said that he would accept Ukraine having a neutral status in return for a peace deal with Russia. So Ukraine would establish that it wouldn't join NATO, it wouldn't join the EU, it would stay in neutral status. Is that a big development, or is that a recognition of the de facto situation that there is going to be no circumstance where Vladimir Putin would walk away if Ukraine were to join the defensive alliance of NATO?
Julia, thanks for this question. So actually, when Ukraine was neutral, Russia attacked us. It was in 2014. So neutrality is not a solution for Ukraine having such enemy as Russia is. So this is why NATO, our move towards NATO membership, is incorporated into the Ukrainian constitution. Yeah. So this is why we in Ukraine, and now 93% of Ukraine believed that we are winning and we will win this war. So this is another reason for President to work hard to receive more weapons. And I do hope that President Biden, besides making statements, he will also provide Ukrainians with heavy weapons we need to protect the sky. So this is his not just moral, but also US as a security guarantor. This is their obligations. Yeah. So I hope that President Biden will give a green light to Poland, to Slovak Republic, to Bulgaria, to Romania, and they will finally support us not just with javelins, with Stingers, but also with fighter jets, with anti-tank and anti-missile systems, what we need.
Yeah. And there's no doubt those Eastern European countries desperately want to give that military aid, that proper hardware. And I have to say, I'm struggling to understand what the difference would be if, we've got the West. We know that, the UK and US are giving military aid, these anti-tank missiles and the like. What the difference would be militarily or morally, or perceived by Putin, were the Eastern European countries as part of NATO to give fighter jets. It seems to me that as long as it's not NATO pilots flying them, then what's the issue?
So we are asking about Soviet type of military weaponry. What Poland, Bulgaria, they have it. So this is why I don't also understand why, because Ukrainian pilots will be fighting. So we will protect our sky and not to allow Putin to bomb cities of Ukraine like Lviv, like Lutsk yesterday in Western Ukraine, and actually to protect the maternity and children hospitals. Because, you know, in the occupied cities, Russia is violating the international human law, humanitarian law. So how the world, this is what I'm asking every time, does humanity end at the NATO borders? So please help us by providing weapons. We not ask like US or UK soldiers to be deployed at the ground.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think lots of people are absolutely horrified that action isn't being taken. Some people are saying, oh, it's warmongering. It's not warmongering. This is a defensive action to protect innocent people being bombed in their homes, you say, in hospitals, schools. I mean, some of the footage coming out where you're just seeing the full horrors of what's been happening in Mariupol, which has pretty much been destroyed as a city, and I hope one day will be rebuilt. Ukraine's head of intelligence, this is General Kriko Budanov, he has said that he believes that Vladimir Putin aims to split Ukraine Korea-style, North-South Korea, and it aims to split, Ukraine east-west, take large parts of the Donbass region for his own, have them declaring independence but allegiance to Russia and leaving the rest of Ukraine. Would that be something that would be, I mean, not acceptable, not desirable, but something that the Ukrainian people would put up with in return for the war ending? Would that be a price worth paying?
No, because actually the only victory is a way out from this situation. Because look, within 9 years of war, after annexation of Crimea, then occupation of Donbass, so people living there, they know what Ruski Mir, Russian world means. It's repressions, it's tortures. So this is why Ukrainians are now united as never before to win the war, because victory, it's restoration of the territorial integrity and sovereignty and giving back to Ukraine, Donbass and Crimea. And in the occupied cities, there is tortures, there's kidnapping. So this is why we understand people like me, I cannot be back if there will be Russian diversion groups and Russian killers. So this is why only victory is in the table, and this is our army aim, territorial defense, and the whole nation. Yeah. So I think no compromises at this stage, because Russian army is very demoralized. Very demoralized.
I mean, it's been extraordinary what we've seen in terms of, 7 Russian generals have been killed by Ukrainian forces. Another one has been sacked by Vladimir Putin. The comments from a senior military figure in Russia saying that they were the first phase of the war was over and they were going to be concentrating on securing the Donbass region was seen by many as an admission of failure by the Russians, their inability to take a lot of these cities. They haven't taken Kharkiv. They haven't come close to taking Kyiv, and there is an admission that they have not achieved the war aims they were planning. So
and even more, Julia, you know that Trostianets city in Sumy, 40 kilometers to Russian border, was liberated, or Ukraine restored control. So because the mayor of the city, Yuri Bova, is one of my best friends, and he was one of the most successful mayor. And within the decentralization reform, we helped him a lot to build one of the best hospitals. So and now it's all destroyed, but the mayor is back in the liberated city Trostianets, and he's now urging for humanitarian assistance. And what I would like the world to stop giving money to Red Cross, because what they are doing, they are just helping Russian terror with all their ideas to have for our refugees in Rostov and all their sabotage of humanitarian aid. So they are not doing what they are obliged to do.
Okay.
So they are just having big salaries and not real help for